Welcome to Donington Park and welcome to the World Sim Series MX5 Cup. We're here right at the end of the qualifying session. Krebs going on a little drift adventure on the back part of the circuit. We do have Mendelis on provisional pole. On your screens, Mendelis with... And now Mendelis on your screen. Mendelis sitting in fourth. He is the only one that runs ballast on track at the moment. We don't have both the championship leader and the man chasing him on circuit today. Somebody in the background going off wide, and as this qualifying session winds down, Mendelis still sits at a reasonably comfortable 1.3 tenths of a second. Yuri Lapo and Mendelis actually putting in identical times, 1:17.266. Quite a few incidents going on behind. Mendelis across the line. It's not an improvement, but he's still at the top of the standings. Krebs with the final chance to improve and maybe go to the top of the pile. As always, I'm joined by Lorinas.
Welcome to tonight's race. This is the fourth round of the MX5 Cup Championship. As Gustav already mentioned, we don't see the big names this evening. Nimz and Tunyla are not present in this race, but we still have 20 drivers on board and plenty of action ahead of us. Two divisions are live this afternoon, and while Mendelis could not improve his lap times, we wait for Krebs to cross the line, and that's about it. Looks like no one was able to go faster, so let's try and take a quick look at the qualifying session results. You have them on your screens, and Gustas Grimbergas will walk us through.
Mendelis on pole position, as you saw, one of the more dominant qualifying performances we've seen in the MX5s. Krebs in second with Mendelis in third, Lapo in fourth, and Pointner in fifth. We haven't seen that name, at least in Division 1. We do have two divisions tonight. Then looking down the field, it's Plemen 6, 7 for Turrent. Then it's Abad, Gudel, Budrovic, Mitskevicius, Marczak, Kilimavicius, Level, Contreras, Ramach, Guivea, Burridge, Lenarchik, and Cayetano lines up at the very back of the field. That's a name we're used to seeing definitely in the top 10. And it's interesting to see him down all the way in last position. I think he joined at the very last moment of the session because he's only completed 2 laps, so couldn't get up to pace. So we'll see how he can get forward.
Yep, and quite a few new names in this championship. Looks like we have more drivers missing from previous rounds, but good to see some new names joining at least the first division of this championship. Gusta's having a slightly harder time reading the names, but that's no problem. We will get used to those, and everything will get fixed. Ready for the start. We have something interesting happening in the background. There we go. Everything's fixed and lights are out and away we go.
Mendelis takes the lead. Good getaway for him. On the outside of him, Yuri Lapo, but I don't think a move is going to be made. Actually, incredibly cleanly through turn 1. Oh, a little bit wide, but still clean. Still no incidents, and that's pretty rare for an MX5 Cup race. But they're side by side. Mendelis versus Lapo. Who's going to come out in front? Lapo was on the outside, now is on the inside. Mendelis will maybe have to lift, but decides not to. Stays on the outside. Now it's a chance for Krebs to get past, or maybe Mendelis to get past as well.
Yeah, I think Carlos Mezcales was a little bit too cautious there, and he was trying to avoid problems, but he lost 2 places and almost 3 actually. Side by side, it's so clean and so tight. Beautiful racing at the front. Carlos Mezcales, he stays 3rd, so Matas Mendelis backed out of it and decided that he will try to do that later. Carlos Mezcales, he's always having difficulties in the first race, not sure.
Really off wide back in the background.
Yeah.
I think they Guvella off and doing a few more spins before he gets back out on track.
Yep, and Carlos Mezcales, yep, he lost those places. He went a little bit wide at Kopis corner. Not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but Krebs is currently taking the lead from Yuri Lapo. Matas Mendelis sitting in the 3rd position. Now he goes 2nd. Guys going a little bit too wide on the exits, and that cost quite a lot of time for them. They want to rush it a little bit too soon, going on to the power and, well, not fitting on the racetrack. Remember, the tires are cold on these MX5s in the first laps, and it's quite difficult to keep them on track, especially while racing side by side. And there goes the chance for Matas Mendelis. He couldn't get a quite clean lap in the qualifying session. Now he's all over the back of Krebs in 2nd position. Carlos
Remember,
Mezcales,
he had an identical time with Krebs. So both the drivers from the front row dropping down. 2nd row now leads the race. We'll see what Mendelis can do still side by side behind them. Mezcales down to 6th, and that's not a good position for him because he needs to be 5th if he wants to take pole position. Lapo down to 5th, back up to 4th because
Carlos
they're all
Mezcales in the middle. Nice battle happening on the exit of Goddard.
4 wide? Nope, 3 wide, but it looked like 4 wide for a second. I think it's gonna become 4 wide as they head down into turn 1. Nope, they filter out. Mezcales into 5th. That was tight with the number 7 of Abad there. And now they head down the hill once again. Looks like Carlos Mezcales maybe a bit more comfortable in 5th, battling Lapo for 4th. Remember that last time these two were side by side, they both lost position.
They touched a little bit. It was quite a tiny touch, but Carlos Mezcales goes slightly wide, and that's enough for Pleman and Abbott to start moving their cars in front. Carlos Mezcales having a difficult time. He was the fastest driver in the qualifying session. He's stuck behind the drivers and he's losing time to the leaders. Look at the front. Krebs is still leading, but well, Matas Mendelis was kind of in the inside into the first corner and he somehow managed to lose it, and Carlos Mezcales sliding again on the exit, losing a lot of time. Marsak and Livella are kind of chasing down Mezcales, and the curse is here. So Carlos Mezcales has always had troubles in the first races of this championship, and it looks like it's still the same for Carlos, but better news is he didn't have damage, he didn't have contacts, and he has some chance to battle at least for yet another pole position for the second race. He started first, he's currently 6th.
I think he maybe just got nervous there. Just starting from pole position, I think maybe the nerves got to him and he really struggled with those first laps because it looked like he was very, very uncomfortable in that first lap, getting on the power too early. I mean, somebody who was a 10th up at qualifying, it shouldn't be making mistakes like that. So I think maybe just a bit of nervousness starting from pole position. But he's now in a prime spot to take pole position for race 2. And obviously not fighting for the championship win is Carlos Mezcales, so only focusing on event wins. Well, a 5th place here could be nice, or at least a race win. If he could pull that out the bag, I think would be wonderful for him.
And the fastest driver on track at this moment is Contreras, sitting in P15. Well, Krebs was actually slightly faster, but I believe that his lap time was not clean because it's not being showed as the fastest lap time. Now it is 1:17.5, 4 times faster than Matas Mendelis, and he's already 1.4 seconds in the lead. Abbott going on Pleman into the inside of Redgate corner. Looks like he is able to make it stick, but it's quite easy to try and switch the lines into turn 1. So just taking a later apex helped Pleman to try and fight back, and he's in front of Abbott. Mendelis finally getting some room to breathe. He's 1.5 seconds ahead of Pleman and 3 seconds behind Lapo. Almost 9 minutes of the race are still on the clock, so he has time to try and gain on his rivals, but I think that's going to be a hell of a job to try and accomplish this in the remaining minutes. Mendelis struggling a little bit in P2.
Yep.
He's losing time. I think
He's
he
lost
just
1.8 seconds. Wow, and he was like right up the tail, so he had the slipstream, and slipstream will extremely effective around this place, because in these MX5s the straights become extremely long, and now he's got Pointner, who's about to make a move, going to the outside of turn 1. That's not an easy place to make a move on the outside, but he might be able to cross the line here onto the inside and does the switchback move. And now he's going to be on the inside for the right, on the outside for the left, and then inside for the right again. But I think Mendelis might just have to back out even earlier, because Pointner able to come back onto the racing line just about and get second place from Matas Mendelis, but goes off the road. And now this will be a chance for Mendelis to come back at Pointner. Lapo sitting behind them. He's wanting to make a move. Mendelis, by the way, last time round, 17.4, fastest man on track. So clearly that start really didn't help him. Difficulties at the start. Now we'll see how well everyone else can do.
Yeah, I think Mendelis lost a little bit too much of the precious time, though seeing his rivals battling at the front might make him a little bit more excited. He just needs to focus on what he's doing. Lapo braking so late. What different lines the drivers are choosing through the Gotthard chicane, but all these jumping around the track and battling for positions are kind of pulling Carlos Mendelis a little bit closer to this trio, because they with those different lines and being a little bit defensive, that slows the cars down, and we might actually see a 4-car battle for P2, because I think Krebs is totally safe now unless he makes a mistake. But this is a nice battle for P2, and Yuri Lapo making a small mistake. We can see Pointner going a little bit wide, and that most times is more than enough to lose the position that you're at. Good news for Pointner that Matas Mendelis was slightly further behind and was not able to get into the inside or make something happen. Look at the gap between Lapo and Mendelis after the mistake that Yuri Lapo made. It's only 1.3 seconds. So
I think Mendelis might be waiting here. This is a battle for 8th, actually, because you've still got Gudil there in 8th, just half a second in front. But this is more of a battle for 9th, because Klimovich just really pushes Lavelle to the inside. A bit naughty, but Robin's racing, and maybe that's just a little over the top, but I think everyone will let that slide. This is MX5 racing at the end of the day, so everybody's extremely aggressive. This battle continues. We'll see if Cayetano might be joining that battle as well. I've seen incredible lap times from him, and once I saw a very big loss, so big loss probably didn't end up well in terms of positions. And this is Lavelle and Klimovich still running together.
I think they're gonna race till the end the way they are racing now. Look at
that exit. Klimovich just dropped back on the entry to get an incredible exit, and that's a big push to the rear. Lavelle stays in front, but to the inside they don't touch. Okay.
And they do.
I said they don't touch, and both of them catapulted each other off the track. I'm probably gonna chalk that up to the Klimovich is behind, but yeah.
Yeah, it was a
That's
nice
the
try.
commentator's curse. That's the
Yeah.
commentator's curse.
It was a nice try. He had to make something, so he decided to make it. He committed to the inside of the corner, and maybe he got back on the power a little bit too early. It was beautiful up until then, but look at this battle building up for P2. Matas Mendelis goes up in front of Pointner, and Yuri Lapo is right on the tail. So these drivers are really close to each other. Meškelis lost some pace. Now he's 1.8 seconds behind. He was once a little bit closer. It was 1.3 seconds. So his previous lap time.
These guys, they're just pulling each other along in that slipstream. They're pulling each other along down the straights, and I think that's why they're maybe going a little bit quicker. Maybe Carlos Meškelis also not trying to overpush.
Yeah, maybe he's comfortable with the pole position for the second race, though. And as soon as these drivers started battling each other, look how the gap went down from 2 seconds down to 1 second between Yuri Lapo and Carlos Meškelis. Time is actually ticking out, so the drivers will be eager to try and battle each other. Matas Mendelis jumping over the curb. Budrevic receiving
outside now.
Budrevic just received a drive-through penalties. Was that Meškelis off the track? It was Meškelis off the racetrack, so he totally missed the chicane and lost quite a lot of time. That's 2.9 seconds. Oh, so he outbraked himself into the Goddard's chicane, and that's game over, I believe, for Carlos Meškelis in the battle for higher positions in the first race. But who knows? These drivers are battling really hard, and they might lose a little bit more time. Yep, Mendelis made his move
at a perfect time, and he kind of forced the issue for Pointner and Lapo to then go side by side. He kind of kicked off the problems for everyone else, and that has given him a bit of a cushion. 0.6 of a second. It's not a lot, but it might just be enough for him to stay in front. But everyone's kind of spreading out a bit in this fight for second. 2 minutes to go, and it's not going to be a white flag this time. So 2 more laps to go for Krebs, and everybody else behind him. A little bit wide for Pointner, and this kind of secures it for Matas Mendelis. 0.8 of a second, because these two are now going to go side by side once again down into turn 1. It's Lapo to the inside because Pointner gave him the space. Maybe just trying to not put up too much of a fight to not lose time to Meškelis, but Meškelis has enough of a gap, and Pointner now trying to go to the inside, maybe pushing Lapo, hoping that Lapo makes a mistake as well on the power and off wide, perfectly to the outside. This time we've seen Pointner go off wide a few times there, not this time though, and now into the left, he's on the outside, into the right, he'll be on the inside, but Lapo intelligently blocks him there. As soon as he had the space, he went to the inside to cover off a chance of a move. Into the right-hander here, you're not going to try and make a move. And yep, I was correct, but looks like Lapo maybe just struggling a little bit with understeer. Maybe a bit too early on power coming out of that turn. But the gap stays stable down the straight. Mendelis safe. 1.4 seconds as the final lap is being started by Krebs, and a white flag is in the air. Lapo versus Pointner. That's your battle for the final place on the podium. Meškelis 1.5, so he'd need a big fight between these two to have anything happen. 0.2 of a second between third and fourth, but I don't think Pointner is going to put up too much of a fight.
Well, you never know. He's quite close on the tail. Oh, Yuri Lapo losing it on himself.
Sideways.
Wow, it looked like he misshifted. I think he just did too many downshifts or just missed the gear completely, and that's why the back end stepped out for Yuri Lapo, and
You think it could
yep,
be, because
his engine is dead. I think his engine is dead.
Yep. Stopping by the side of the road, and from third to last, well, yeah, he'll be last. He can't get to the end.
Yep, he's standing.
Cayetano, by the way, in 8th place. So incredible recovery from last on the grid to 8th. But Krebs comes through the final chicane to take an incredibly dominant MX5 Cup win by 2.9 seconds ahead of Matheus Mendelis.
Pointner finishing third, and Carlos Mescales receiving the gift from Yuri Lapo and finishing fourth, though he lost the pole position for the second race. Pleman finishing fifth, and the results are all over the place. We have a little bit of time before we'll start the second race, so let's take a quick look at the results of the first race, and maybe we'll have a look at the championship standings while the race is still on. Lenarchik is about to finish, and I think the whole grid has already finished. Look at Abad, he's also missing, so he had problems that we missed earlier in the race. He was quite fast at the beginning, but he went nowhere. So Krebs taking the win, Mendelis finishes second, Pointner third, Mescales fourth, and Pleman taking the pole position for the second race. Marchak sixth, Goodell seventh, Cayetano eighth, Buric ninth, and Contreras 10th. Mickiewicz 11th. We haven't seen Mickiewicz in this race actually, but he was there and finished 11th. Budrevic 12th, Klimavicius P13, Livell 14th place, so he lost quite a lot of positions at the race. Ramach 15th, Govea 16th, Turent 17th, Lenarchik 18th, Lapo 19th with a DNF, and Abad 20th. So I've seen that Yuri Lapo has disconnected from the race, so there's a big chance that we will not see the driver starting the second race this afternoon. Let's take a quick look at the championship standings, well, we don't have Tunyla, who is currently in the lead, 14 points ahead of Matheus Mendelis, and Jan Nimz is third in the standings, 143 points. That will change. Yuri Lapo, our fourth place sitter, he has 137 points, but he has just disconnected. So what might that bring to our fifth place holder, Carlos Mescales, 134 points. He was looking at a high amount of points this afternoon, but well, fourth place I think is not the position that he was aiming at after he took that pole position. Cayetano 7th, and who we have on board this afternoon, who might still have...
I mean, we have to think about the one drop round that everybody has as well.
Yes, indeed. The results that we're looking now, they are as they stand at this moment, but they will change because of that one drop round. So maybe Tunyla and Jan Nimz will return to the championship, though Jan Nimz, he lost points in the previous round already, so I think that's a big loss. I think we don't have a lot of time to play a commercial break now, so let's sit tight and yeah, let's take a quick look at our beautiful safety car. By the way, we don't have live control this afternoon. The incidents will be reviewed after the race, so we don't announce any penalties as we have used to do in the previous rounds. But I think, yeah, we have gridded already. I think we will have to do the guesswork this afternoon for the incidents that we see on our screens. So 40 seconds till the start of the second race, and that's gonna be a hot race. I'm pretty sure about it, especially with those top 5 in a reversed order.
Yep, should be a very interesting... And by the way, everyone in the top 5 was actually very similarly paced. And that was unique from most other rounds when we knew that there was a very big recovery incoming from 5th and 4th, where Toros, Tunyla, and Nimz were always. But now we might see a very different race as we go green one more time here in the MX5 Cup on World Sim Series. It is Pleman and Mendelis coming down into turn 1, and they're side by side. A good start by Mendelis to stay side by side with Pleman there, and he might just be able to make the move around the outside again on the grass on the exit of turn 1, again losing a position there. So hasn't learned from race 1. He's been a very intelligent driver throughout this season, but I think starting that far up front maybe this round has created some difficulties, but stays in 3rd at the moment. He's got Mendelis right up his tail. Who's got Krebs right up his tail? If Mendelis can finish in front of Krebs and win the race, he would be classified as the winner of the event. Whoever finishes higher in race 2 in the event of a dead heat. So in the event that somebody scores an equal amount of points, it is the driver who finished ahead in race 2 that gets the higher position.
Yep, Lapo is back. He's P16, so he didn't quit the race completely. So he's there on the racetrack, and he's fast, but he's currently at the back of the pack. So that's gonna be a recovery drive.
Big send, massive send into the chicane, but gets it stopped and gets it done. This is what you can do in these MX5s. Mendelis side by side with Pointner here, coming down onto turn 1. He's on the outside, Pointner on the inside. And that's Krebs and Mendelis coming down into turn 1. Mendelis to the outside, and I think he might just be able to make the move. A little bit of more bravery from Mendelis, and he does get the move done. You saw that incredible move by Krebs. I think Mendelis didn't want to be outdone on the bravery scale.
Yeah, he had to do that. He was totally committed, and I'm pretty sure he was a little bit mad about that nice late move into the final chicane. So he wanted that position definitely back. So beautiful driving by the drivers, close, tight, and clean. Wow, Carlos Mendelis going into the inside was almost shut by Pointner. Managed to get away from that, but
three wide.
Oh, Carlos Mendelis and Pointner touch, and they go around, and Mendelis is involved. Oh, Pointner losing even more places. So that was a little bit too tight. And I think one of the drivers just simply overcooked, and the driver who overcooked is Carlos Mendelis. So you definitely can feel the frustration from Carlos. He came here, he qualified first, he set the fastest lap time in the first race, but well, just it doesn't stick for him this evening.
Hey, Mendelis went quicker. At the very end of that race 1, I saw Mendelis go extremely fast.
Okay, so he felt himself maybe more comfortable. Well, yeah, 117.274 versus 117.287. So that's close between two drivers for the fastest lap time in the first race. But Mendelis was slightly faster. Carlos Mendelis on the back end of Mendelis. They didn't lose too much. 5.4 seconds to Pleman. Pleman has 3.1 seconds gap against Krebs. And that's a huge gap, so he has to stay focused and avoid mistakes, and I think he's pretty safe to get that checker flag, though there is still some time. But yeah, the pace is so tight with these MX5s, and the drivers behind are battling each other, so I think Pleman is quite in a comfortable position at this very moment, while Mendelis...
He's got a very fast Krebs coming up behind him, so that's going to be his issue, but with 11 minutes to go, he might just be able to survive this one. And this is Mendelis coming up to Gudel for 4th position on the road, getting close to that podium place.
Whoa.
Which Klimavicius occupies at the
moment. Look, where did these drivers come from? Klimavicius 3rd, he finished 13th. He finished 13th.
Carlos Mendelis off the road, very much off the road. Or was that not him? I saw somebody really exploring the grass.
Yeah, maybe it was Carlos Mendelis. He lost a lot of time compared to Mendelis, but... maybe he was a little bit off the road because he's now 1.2 seconds behind Goodell, who dropped down to 5th after Mendelis made that move. But where did Klimavichus come from? That actually surprises me. And his previous lap time was 1:19, so 1.3 seconds slower than the lap time of Mendelis. And
they must survive. They survived all the chaos that was going on around them.
Yeah.
And got forward. And this is sometimes how you can get very good results. And to the outside.
Tight.
Wow. That was a very smart move and quite risky by Mendelis, but he does have to make risky moves. He doesn't have that much time remaining, but beautiful move. And I think that caught Klimavichus a bit off guard because he had to let Goodell through as well on the exit there. Carlos Michaelis now coming up to them. He is trying to gun for 4th if he can get past these two, and then Mendelis in 3rd. Mendelis might try and catch Krebs. I think that's his, hopefully, his hope and his target for the rest of this race.
Yeah.
Actually, Krebs getting closer and closer to Pleman. That kept it down to 2.1. This is Michaelis to the outside, another touch. So he is becoming pretty desperate, and I think he's just frustrated with himself as well. To the very edge of the track.
Yeah, he needs to focus because now he's just losing not only time but position on track, and he's risking to get penalties. Not sure how the incident will be looked at by the stewards after the race that Carlos Michaelis was involved. That maybe it was a racing situation that really hard to judge from one camera angle, but he needs to be careful and he needs to avoid those bigger bumps. Now on Klimavichus to the outside into turn 1. Carlos Michaelis has the run. Goodell is right in front of these two drivers. Has to be late on the brakes, and that's a little bit too late and too hard, I believe. And still clipping the grass on the outside of the first corner, side by side. That's really risky. Into that fast old hairpin corner. He's forced to stay on the outside. And he will try to cross the lines, but I think he just lost the rear traction, and that didn't work out. So Carlos Michaelis further frustration in this race because Matas Mickiewicz is now right on the tail of Carlos Michaelis with a car that has definitely seen plenty of action in this race, riding on board with Mickiewicz, who is up to P7. So the drivers who finished quite low in the first race are currently running quite high in the second one. And we have 60 incidents in first race already. Matas Mendelis versus Krebs, 1.5 seconds. Carlos Michaelis versus Klimavichus into the chicane. He might outsmart Klimavichus now because Klimavichus just compromised the entry to not have a good exit. And that's almost over. A touch from the drivers, and Matas Mickiewicz to the outside of Carlos Michaelis. What about Klimavichus? Laid on the brakes to the inside, and he stays ahead of both of the drivers. Carlos Michaelis gets pushed wide. Matas Mickiewicz wants a little bit of this game, and it was a little bit too much, and too close, and too tight. Carlos Michaelis exploring the grass and just realizing how slippery it is. Oh, there's no grip on the grass. What a frustration for the driver.
And a very frustrating afternoon for him.
Yeah.
Being on pole, making mistakes in race 1, but then had the chance to convert that to a win after starting in second. Try the move at turn 1, didn't work, dropped to 3rd.
Oh. Do we have problems? Okay,
we saw Carlos Michaelis explore the grass while Matas Mickiewicz explored the universe, I think, there.
He found a black hole, and we might see him finishing first in this race. Who knows where he will come back on the racetrack, if he will.
I think he's already teleported to the next round. He's decided that he's had enough of racing today here.
That happens. if that happens, because that's online racing and sometimes you have issues, unexpected issues, and they can teleport you to the outside of the universe. Look at the pace of Matas Mendelis. Somehow he just found some motivation, and he's pushing 117.4. That's not too fast compared to Krebs, but he's still finding time on the racetrack to try and gain on Krebs. Pleman is also being chased down by Krebs, but with 4.5 minutes of the race to go. That's a little bit too tight on the clock. Meshkal is down in P15. There is nothing more that he can do. He has a car that was not damaged, I believe, so he might still gain a couple of places maybe during this race. He's quite close with Yuri Lapo and Contreras. I think they were just in a battle. Yep, there are cars off the racetrack. There was a battle, and that's Contreras, so I'm not sure if there was an incident between Meshkalis and Contreras, but there was definitely, because Meshkalis is down in P17, so the nightmare continues for the driver who set the fastest lap time in the qualifying session. Yep, that's huge damage, and that's big frustration for the young Lithuanian who came here to seek the win. Now he's seeking to reach the finish line and forget about this race as fast as he can after he finishes it. If he'll finishes it.
I think he'll die. Unless he flies off into space, I think he'll get to the end. This is Cayetano starting from last in race 1. He's now up into 6th in race 2. But speaking of first, that battle is now getting very, very close. Pleman, I think he's doing everything he can to be quick enough to where Mendelis will catch Krebs quicker than Krebs will catch him. If that happens, then I think he'll be safe, because Mendelis will go for the move probably as soon as possible. But if Krebs gets to Pleman, I think Mendelis might just wait it out and see what happens to be able to make the move together and not get stuck battling. So that gap up to 0.9, and I think this is one of the first times we've seen Pleman actually increase the gap rather than have that gap decrease. But this middle portion of the track, this is where we noticed he loses quite a bit of time, and it looked like a bit of a tight entry into the right-hander. This is Marchak and Butrovic battling for 8th, and Butrovic gives him a nice little tap to say, keep going and keep pushing. A little bit of motivation, and he saw Marchak just accelerate away and get further in front. That gap at the lead for the lead now down to just half a second. Krebs has turned on the afterburners.
And that's going to be 2 to go when the drivers cross the line this time. So 2 laps for the drivers to try and battle it out for the lead between the 3 of them, Pleman, Krebs and Mendelis. Mendelis lost a little bit of time this time around the circuit. Krebs just set his fastest lap time, his personal fastest lap time of this race, so he found a little bit more pace. Cayetano setting the fastest lap time of the evening so far of both of the races, 117.20. Matas Mendelis suddenly making mistakes, and he's dropping behind with the time ticking out. That's not what Matas Mendelis wants to do. Krebs are running a little bit wide. Matas Mendelis following him. And Pleman
is not able to break the 0.8 barrier. Maybe due to damage on his car, because we've seen damage to the right-hand side of his MX5, so maybe could be a reason.
Yep, that's possible. He had those contacts.
Into the final chicane we go for the penultimate time. We saw Krebs make that incredible move into the chicane, but no, doesn't work this time. He goes slow. Mendelis comes through.
Oh,
and
Pleman running wide on the grass.
Pleman off the road. One more to go. White flag in the air as Mendelis is now in the prime seat to overtake Pleman, who made a mistake. So everyone behind him knows that he's nervous. 0.4 of a second. All these cars separated by nothing heading into the final lap.
Yep, so 1 second separates 3 cars on the final lap, which is relatively short lap with only 9 corners. We get confirmation that this is the final lap, and Krebs is a little bit too far off at this moment of at this point of the racetrack, and Matas Mendelis 0.3 of a second on the back end of Pleman, so he might.
Closer, Pleman. We saw him running a little bit wide. Mendelis shows his nose, just trying to scare his opponent at least a little bit. Mendelis coming off the turn, maybe using a bit more of the road. Look at that slipstream. He's had a good exit. Krebs behind him had a good exit as well to the outside into the chicane for the final lap of race 2 here. He's going to try and cross it, but not going to happen here. It will be a drag race to the line. Maybe Krebs getting involved in it as well, but I think it's going to be enough for Pleman to take the win.
Who was tight? Someone was running really close. Oh, look, Krebs. I think Krebs got Mendelis. That's our table. That's our results table going a little bit crazy too soon. Looks like Matas Mendelis finished second. What is the gap between the 3 drivers? It's it is 2 tenths. 2 tenths down the finish line between the 3 drivers. Well, that's what the MX5 racing is all about. Yep, so the drivers taking and crossing the finish line. Mendelis taking the checkered flag, and he will be willing to forget this race. He finished 17th in this one, so that's definitely not the result he came here seeking. Yep, but that's the finish, and what about that? I don't remember a race like this in our championship so far, so definitely hopefully the drivers will remember this one and try to repeat that one in 2 weeks' time. But we can go through the results of the second race with Gustas if he's.
Yep, I have the results on my screen. Pleman takes the win with Matas Mendelis in second, just a 10th down on him. This sounds more like qualifying results than race results. Krebs 1.9 tenths behind, so 0.0. That's seconds. 0.191. That's thousandths of a second. Goodell finishes 4th. 5th for Klimavicius. 6th for Cayetano, who we remember being dead last after qualifying. Buric finishes in 9th, Budrovic in 9th for Marchak, Pointner in 10th, Turrent in 11th, Abad in 12th, Lenarchik in 13th, Lavelle in 14th, 15th for Lapo. Unlucky for him because he didn't put up that much of a recovery drive, so maybe some more issues during the race. Ramak in 16th, Meshkalis. He'll want to forget this one. 17th in race 2, starting from the front row. Gouveia in 18th, 19th for Contreras, and 20th for Mitskavicius, who we saw leave the orbit mid-race. And the next time out, we'll head on over to Tsukuba, back to Japan after round 3 was in Okayama. I think Mitskavicius has already landed in Tsukuba with his takeoff that we saw during the race here today. But we'll see the drivers prepare for 2 more weeks and come back on track to give us some more action. And if you want to join in on the action, head on over to worldsimseries.com, sign up for free, and run the MX5 Cup Championship.
Yep, thanks for staying with us and hope you enjoyed this nice race. And if you want more action this week, don't forget that this coming Thursday we'll have the second round of the EBA-TCC Championship with those BMW 325 Cup cars on the Lithuanian racetrack Nemuno Žiedas. That's gonna be a super crazy one. I'm pretty sure about it, and I'm already excited to see how that one goes. 2 races, 20 minutes long, top 10 reversed, so stay tuned. Don't forget, Thursday evening is the date that you are definitely waiting for. If you want to participate in races like these, Gustas gave you all the information. Don't just sit there, go and do and be in that action that you see some evenings happening from the World Sim Series platform. Yep, that's it. So have a good evening. Thanks, Gustas, for sticking with us. And hear you next time.
Have a good night.